What significance does ancient philosophy have to offer us as a species? Philosophy, abstraction, numbers, mathematics were the realities of the universe. Religion, during this period, was life. The universe was alive, or hylozoic. Science, based on substance and observations. Part of ancient philosophy felt that numbers, concepts, and individual abstractions were what made up the universe. Many of them also felt the universe was alive, not as stone existing within a greater entity, but rather as a living, thriving entity teeming with individual pieces of responsiveness and interactions. They thought of the universe interacting within itself. They did not think of the universe interacting with what lay outside itself because they had no idea something could lay outside the universe. This was understandable, for they did not have much of the knowledge we have today. Had they had this knowledge, their general perceptions of interactions and a living universe imply that they would have accepted the idea of a universe interacting with not only what lay inside itself, but with what lay potentially outside itself. Ancient philosophy, as does philosophy today, basically held to the idea of being responsible, the ability to respond. Responsibility is the key. Some would say that we as individuals are not very responsible, but how can one act responsibly if one does not understand what one's responsibility is, especially on a universal scale? How can we expect individuals to act responsibly for life when we haven't even defined what life is, at least in any adequate consensus? How can we act responsibly and direct our energies towards accomplishing the tasks set before us as rational living entities when we have not even defined what the task is? Aimlessly and blindly wandering in the dark? Why life exists in the first place, and if the behavior of our species is a summation of its parts, the summation of individual actions, how can we expect our species as a whole to act responsibly if the parts, you and I, don't even know why we exist and what our purpose is for living? This is one question that all philosophies attempt to address. It is crucial that philosophy gets back to the task ancient philosophy was attempting to accomplish. Philosophy needs to once again begin the process of defining what it is we are and why we exist. Purpose. Our behavior as individuals and as a species is dependent upon just such a definition, as long as the definition remains undefined and in chaos. So does the overall behavior of the individual and our species. What significance does ancient philosophy have to offer other life forms in the universe? The aliens provided that life exists in other places within the universe, or universes, depending upon which theory one holds to. Religion, life, universe was alive. Science, substance, observation, the universe was made of a single substance. Philosophy, an abstraction then, mathematics, numbers were the realities of the universe. Responsibility, responsibility, responsibility. This is not a concept for just ourselves as individuals, nor for us as a species. It is a concept involving all life forms within our universe. A definition of life is nothing other than a simple statement providing the rationale, foundation for behavior. It does not say what the behavior should be, it provides the rationale for the behavior society sets in place. Religion provides the guidelines for behavior based upon faith. This is one concept that, unfortunately, a large portion of humanity has utterly rejected. But this guideline for behavior needs a base upon which it can rest. If religions give the reason and emphasize one behavior over another simply because we said so, or because God said so, or the causative force so, or because if you don't, you will go to hell, and if you do, you will go to heaven, then they are setting the base of their argument upon a foundation of sand. The foundation has no solid substance to it because it does not go to the heart of the matter and answer the question, why are our actions so important to what lies beyond our universe, that our actions can determine our eternal state of existence? Religious descriptions of behavior are just that, descriptions of behavior. They have been very influential in our historical development and evolution, and therefore cannot and should not be disregarded, and their influence and guiding principles are by no means irrelevant. In fact, they have played a useful role in perhaps deterring evil itself. But we have reached a point in our development when reason is taking its rightful place in our thoughts. As such, it is rapidly approaching the time when religion needs to strengthen its foundation or find itself resting upon a crumbling structure. Religion needs science, observation, the concrete, the objective. The religion needs philosophy, the tool capable of building the molds and forms within which the concrete can set. These two, science and philosophy, provide the fundamental foundation for religions, which guides our behaviors as individuals and as a species. To disregard this fact is indeed disregarding the foundational aspects of our species, and this cannot be good. At this point, if we should encounter aliens or other life forms within the vast expanse of space, we would not be able to answer the most important question they may ask us. The question, you and we are living things, what does being alive mean to you? The answer to such a question will define for them how individuals of our species will interact with them in reverence or hostility. What does ancient philosophy imply about our significance within eternity? Science, the universe was made of a single substance. Early science, ancient science, ancient philosophy, numbers were the realities of the universe. Mathematics, religion, the universe was alive. And what of science, the concrete? Does the concrete, the observable, take precedence over the intuitive, over faith, over religion? Or in fact, in its attempt to kill off God and religion? If ancient philosophy's perception of the abstract being the basic component of existence is correct, then it doesn't. If ancient philosophy is correct in its intuitive perception of existence, being able to be reduced to a basic fundamental form of abstract awareness, then science, the study of the concrete, the study of the observed, would be nothing other than a study of one aspect of a state of being. Science would be the study of a state of being defined by an existence within a universe, or many, composed of matter and energy. Science would be the study of the part of eternity that exists in time. And this would call for perhaps a pantheistic aspect to science. But time is thought to be endless. No, time was thought to be endless. Now, science feels that time is a product of the existence of matter and energy, a beginning, a big bang. If that is the case, and if matter and energy ceases to exist, then time will cease to exist for any individual souls of awareness that exist within that universe. So it is that the concrete moves over and makes room for the abstract, matter for spirit, moves over for reason, philosophy. So it is that the intuitive, what we sense through faith, outlives the concrete through the logic of reason. So it is that we, in apparent abstraction, become fused with eternity, affect eternity itself through our presence within her. Him, God, the causative force. Eternity may very well be the causative force herself. Ancient philosophy intuitively felt we were a part of this. Eastern philosophy and religions express this in a wide array of ways. Our being connected to eternity was what most probably through a process of belonging or being a part of the whole. For the whole is not complete without all of its parts, and if the whole be fragmented, look out. The whole becomes lesser with the detection of any part of itself. To belong to eternity, to expand upon eternity through belonging, to add to eternity through observation, faith, logic, and reason, science, philosophy, and religions. To change eternity itself are significant reasons to direct one's behavior in a specific direction. And what direction should that be? That is the function of religion and the primary role of spiritual life. To define using the fundamental model of a unified view produced by philosophy, and in this case, symbiotic panentheism as a potential universal philosophy. What does ancient philosophy imply about our relationship to the causative force? Philosophy, abstraction, religion, life, science, substance. Ancient philosophy, with its concept of the universe composed of a single substance, the universe being a living entity, and existence being a form of abstraction, implies that by being a part of something, we have an interactive part to play with that something, what religions call God. We are not alone, and she is not alone. We are companions to each other, confronting each other, providing for each other, wedded to each other. And this is not an unbiblical concept, with God as bridegroom. The universe is made up of a single substance. The universe is alive. It all sounds so familiar. Even today, we have not let go of these ideas. Some of us say, the universe is but an abstract idea. The universe is all there is. Matter and energy are the essence of existence, the living earth, the living universe. Pantheism. Has it really changed? If it hasn't really changed, then what would this imply about the ideas ancient philosophy has to offer us? The generation of technology. What would it tell us about our relationship with the causative force? The advances we have been making are not confined to the arena of change. Our advances have also developed within the arena of constancy, remaining the same. We have been solidifying our constancy through our ability to verify two things. One, that we have always sensed as a species, and two, our ability to expand what we can see of the total picture. As our knowledge grew, the basic picture remained fairly constant, but our ability to see more of this picture grew. Oddly enough, as the total picture grew, our intuitive perception, what we have always sensed as a species, only seemed to be reinforced. This is why we seem to have changed little in terms of our perceptions today as compared to the perceptions of ancient philosophy, sciences, and religions. The picture is more complete, the details are more vivid, the understanding is more in focus, but the overall basic foundation is primarily the same. The basic foundation: we exist, the universe exists, something, a causative force, initiated the universe. Without something initiating it, we would not, in fact, be here, having a discussion. Life existing within the universe most probably interacts with and may in fact be a part of the causative force herself, a pan-consciousness. Perhaps it is time to deal with those issues, accept the existence of this relationship, and move on until it can be proven otherwise. And thus far, it cannot be proven otherwise. In conclusion, how do the concepts of ancient philosophy reinforce the concept of symbiotic panentheism? They don't. What is actually taking place is symbiotic panentheism is reinforcing the concepts of the significance of ancient philosophy. Ancient philosophy dealt with gods who took actions directly affecting the lives of humans. But ancient philosophy went a step further by acknowledging the ability of humans to directly affect the lives of the gods. And this is where it perhaps interacts with mythology. They accepted the concept of an interactive relationship, relational theology. It may be considered a stretch to interpret this as a symbiotic relationship, scientifically speaking, but the ancient philosophers would be the first to admit they had no idea of the exact amount of time the gods were involved with us. The degree to which we as individual humans and as a species influenced their lives or life also would have been unanswerable, regardless of how much of their time the gods spent involved with us. Ancient philosophy believed we interacted with the gods. Greece and Rome being historical examples, ancient philosophy sensed we were capable of changing the lives of the gods. The actions and reactions of the gods, whether ethereal or elemental, it matters not, and how the gods interacted amongst themselves, it was believed we could affect the causative force. In short, this was a form of symbiosis. And what of today? Western, Middle Eastern religions have rejected the concept of a two-way interaction. God's apparent omnipotence is impassable, unreachable, in fact. And they embraced instead a one-way interaction. Some would say moving to a one-way interactive relationship with the causative force, or what religions call God, is an advancement in understanding. Process relational, open theologies profess this. An advancement perhaps from the classical theistic model. But perhaps this was not an advancement, but rather a regression. There is no reason we shouldn't re-examine our having let go of this symbiotic relationship with the causative force. After all, we have retained the ancient concepts of God, immortality of the causative force, the potential for immortality of mortal being through reincarnation and or resurrections, the existence of the universe and the existence of the individual. Combine this with the understanding that the gods controlled what lay beyond man's reach, the heavens, which implies something actually did lay beyond man's reach, and you have a rudimentary form of symbiotic panentheism, stretching far back into ancient philosophy. The West, with its ancient philosophy, and the East, with Hinduism, were defining basically the same thing: symbiotic panentheism.